Prestige worldwide. Wide.
Prestige worldwide.
Prestige Worldwide welcomes you to the following presentation of the League of Extraordinary Dicks.
Welcome back to a playoff edition of the L.E.D podcast. Joined as always by the number 4 seed, Grizzly Adam Beers. Drew Riley, what's up, buddy?
Oh, hey. How's it going?
Congratulations on making the big dance.
We made the big dance, but we came in hobbling, so we'll see how it goes.
Look, all you need is a chance to get there. That's all that matters.
That's right. We have that chance.
So today we're going to be obviously previewing the playoff brackets as well as the Princess Cup, going over some of the injuries and preview some of last week's games and what led up to the drama that led up to the field before it was set. So let's go ahead and jump into those games from last week. Our game of the week that we picked out was going to be Kellen versus Russ. Kellen ended up winning 104-85, but Russ was able to back into the playoffs. So at the time, Kellen was a bubble team, so Kellen got a huge win.
Huge win, and Bowen's team, unfortunately, just didn't show up as much as he needed them to pull off the W.
Right. So it's really a playoff week started for these two teams last week. It was a winning get-in situation for Kellen as well as Bowen. Russ admittedly said if he didn't win, he was going to need some help from me, which he was able to get. But Russ currently in the middle of a 5-game losing streak and still making the playoffs.
The struggle train's real, but like you said before we got on, or maybe here when we first started, all you need is a chance. So
that's right.
You never know.
So he should be I guess we'll look at this game here. Kellen was able to overcome a terrible start from Jared Goff. Jared Goff only putting up 6 points, and then the triumphant return of Justin Jefferson was very, very short-lived. And he's also back on the injury report for a separate injury. However, it looks like that's not going to keep him out long-term, but it was enough to take him out of the game.
Yeah. It's one of those things where is Minnesota going to risk hurting their, number one player, and because I think their playoff hopes are kind of out the loom now. But you never know. I'm sure he wants to play more than anything, so I'm sure it'll come down to
that. They also made a quarterback change, going with Nick Mullins over Josh Dobbs this week. So we'll see if that comes into effect. I'm obviously the TJ Hawkinson owner, so I have a very vested interest in that one. Just to see who he's going to start looking for. Kellen got a big boost from Breece Hall, which we thought was we were a little unsure going into the week if that was going to be a good start for him. And then the super leg of Brandon Aubrey putting up 24 points.
Yeah, that guy, he was pretty much automatic. Like, I think you could put him at 64, 65, and he'd have been just fine.
His first one was from 60, so I mean that's essentially a touchdown. And then he hit another 59-yarder. So look, you take points any way you can get them, and a win's a win in this situation. So also Jake Ferguson looked good. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. I was getting ready to say Jake Ferguson. He's kind of becoming a bright spot since Waller's been on IR for Kellen. So, Dak, it all just concludes to Dak just lighting up right now, playing in an MVP form, so sharing the ball everywhere.
Yeah, you've been saying for a couple of weeks, if you got Dallas Cowboy starters, go ahead and start them almost every time. Everyone's getting a touch. So, and then one more bright spot for Kellen, Rashee Rice is really coming into his own. We touched on how he has been really picking it up over the last couple of weeks, but he went from a 20-point game to a 10-point game to a 14-point game. So, I mean, that's production you almost depend on every week.
Yeah, and he seems like Mr. Reliable other than Kelsey right now for Mahomes. So Might as well throw him in the lineup.
The only other person on that team that can catch.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just how it is. And we're not to jump into the Chiefs offside debacle, but I mean, I guess it's more than just that one event for Kadarius Toney. There's been several times where Kadarius Toney and other folks on that team just cannot catch the ball. Valdez-Scantling, so Rashee Rice is the go-to wide receiver for Mahomes.
Mm-hmm. He sure is, and he's playing well too as a rookie.
Jumping over to Russ's team, very solid day for Matt Stafford, putting up 23 points against a tough. It was actually a very high-scoring Baltimore game. I don't think anybody was expecting 68 points between the two of them. But yeah, man, so good points from the production from the quarterback, and then Derrick Henry continues to go on a tear. We are at 6 touchdowns in 3 games.
Only thing that scares me about it is the low production. Normally, when he's getting in touchdowns, he's getting big yardages with it, but he got 34 yards and 2 touchdowns. But hey, touchdowns are obviously worth more than yards. So as long as it's working out for Rusty, that's all that matters.
So those, I guess, another bright spot would be Jerick McKinnon. So good pickup by Russ. Good swap. I know he picked up Clyde Edwards-Helaire last week, but at the last minute put McKinnon in instead of Edwards-Helaire, and that was definitely the right move to make.
It sure was. So, unfortunately, Russ's downfall right now is his number one receiver, first round pick, which will never happen again. Russ will more than likely just go running back for the foreseeable future now. But in a high-powered offense,
Hell froze over on that pick.
You normally don't see Diggs putting up in 3 out of 4 weeks 4 points. It's not a normal stat line for him. So hopefully for playoff time he spurs around, but he gets a tough defense in Dallas coming up. So we'll see how it goes.
And it's not like Josh Allen's not looking his way. Now they did have a bye week last week, but in week 12 he had 11 targets, and this week against Kansas City had 11 targets. So Josh Allen's looking his way. He's just, I think he's just so blanketed and covered right now. He's not able to get any yards after the catch or any big plays. So as you mentioned, Dallas is shaping up to be a tough matchup, but they can be had. Just want to see if Buffalo can.
I know.
Yeah. They can be had. So yeah, I mean that'd be a great matchup. Buffalo and Dallas. That'll be arguably probably the NFL game of the week.
Yeah, another 4:00 game. At least this one's Greg Olsen over.
That's right.
Tony Romo and Josh Allen love.
Okay, so I here's a hot take. I think Tony Romo is this generation's John Madden. Now, don't hear what I'm not saying. Tony Romo is not better than John Madden, but I think when you look at how all over the place and like how John Madden would go off on rants and then randomly mix some football in, I think that's Tony Romo for our generation.
Oh, for sure. So yeah, I could see it. But there will never be another John Madden. So.
Oh, for sure, the GOAT. Well, let's move on to another a game that was big. Was the Chicken Little Flea Flicker versus the Player Haters. Sarah needed a win to get in, and she got upset by her rival Matt. Matt Douthit's I believe he's got the all-time rivalry record over her, and he extends that with this win, 143-92. Matt picking up Jake Browning either last week or the week before has been a very good play for him, and fortunately for Cincinnati fantasy players, Jamar Chase and Joe Mixon, their production didn't die because Joe Burrow is not there.
Correct. And then Matt needed the win to hold off a first round bye in the Princess Cup, and so getting that win was big for him. But big loss for Sarah. But unfortunately, in the end. She wouldn't have gotten in because Kellen won. So
Yeah, so she did need some help. That was another one. Matt just out of nowhere exploding on offense. We mentioned Jake Browning put up 23. Drake London put up 24. There's not been a lot of offensive production from the Falcons offense as far as fantasy goes this year, but 172 yards, 10 catches, and a 2-point conversion. I mean, that'll get you going, as well as that was stacked with Bijan Robinson.
Mm-hmm. Say, all right, I got the pleasure of watching that game, and Drake London just went the heck off, and it's amazing what that offense could be if they just have a decent quarterback, because they should have won that game. There's no reason Tampa should have won that. So if they ever find a quarterback, which I've heard a couple rumors saying that Atlanta's going to swing hard for Fields.
I've heard that as well.
And so we'll see how that goes. But, yeah, Matt's team's coming alive at the right time.
I'll tell you, as a fan of the NFC South team, that would be terrible. This is for both you and I.
Yeah.
Bijan, Justin Fields, Drake London's coming on. I don't know. Maybe he can actually make Kyle Pitts be the Kyle Pitts we all thought he was going to be. Who knows?
Yeah,
but
Kyle Pitts had a touchdown.
He had a monster touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
It's just you hope to see that kind of production week in and week out from a supposedly elite tight end coming out of college. It just has not come to fruition yet.
Yep.
Speaking of elite tight ends that came out of nowhere, Evan Ingram putting up 27 points for Matt. Fortunately, Trevor Lawrence did start for the Jags, and Evan Ingram was a big beneficiary of that.
2 straight weeks of touchdowns for Evan Ingram after first 13 with no touchdowns. So he's again, Matt's team's come along right time. Christian Kirk ended up kind of maybe helping. Him getting hurt, helping Evan Ingram come back alive, and Baltimore's turned into a pass offense all of a sudden, and so Zay Flowers turned into a nice hot hand as well for him.
Yeah, I think this is Lamar. I've always been a Lamar hater, which as big as a Cam fan as I've been in the past, I probably shouldn't hate Lamar, but I felt like Lamar was too reliant on the run, and he is so dangerous when he actually has time to sit back and complete passes downfield to Odell or Zay Flowers or Mark Andrews when he was involved. But then you take his passing talent and then his ability to run, and that's where Lamar has been dangerous. It's just, I think for the past year or maybe 2 seasons, he's had those priorities flipped. So I mean, right now is Lamar's as dangerous as they come if he continues to play like he is.
Mm-hmm. So there'll be a team to watch in the AFC playoffs for sure.
Now, Sarah ended up losing. The scoreboard will say Sarah lost big, but let's look at actually how this happened. CJ Stroud, he's going to end up on our injury report here later. Left the game late. First of all, with a concussion protocol. And he ran into the Jets defense, who we've said several times just has the knack for completely shutting down elite quarterbacks. And as good as Stroud has been, he is no different from the rest of them. Also, Nico Collins, that stack we said was going to be key for her. Nico Collins got hurt, and he left the game. So that is points where she would normally expect from CJ Stroud, like maybe in the 20. His points would have closed the gap a little bit. I don't think it would have been enough to make up that big a gap between 143 and 92, but it definitely would have helped.
Right, for sure. And then she got good plays out of her running backs. James Cook looked like a Pro Bowler last week against Kansas City. And she had a good stat line. It's just, when you run into someone scoring high points like Matt did, it's hard to catch a win. And unfortunate injuries, they never. You get your quarterback to go down, you pretty much. There's a good chance you're losing that week if your quarterback goes down. So,
to your James Cook point, I think this past week, and as good as James Cook has been, we might have to start putting the fork in the old Leonard Fournette waiver wire pickup.
Yeah.
I had such high hopes, but James Cook is getting better throughout the season, and I don't think there's any need to move up Leonard Fournette.
No, Latavius Murray isn't playing bad as their, I guess, heavy down back. I'm not really sure what he is, and so yeah, I didn't quite understand the Fournette not waiver claim, but them signing him. So maybe they're hoping for playoff, and maybe it's just a boost or something. I don't know, or just a backup. I guess is what he really is.
Maybe he will be playoff like NFL playoff Lenny, and just not fantasy football playoff Lenny.
Yeah, he could be. He could be.
Having some fresh legs going into the playoffs would be great, but they got to get there, and a big win over Kansas City is certainly going to help that. So let's move on to the injury report. As we mentioned, a ton of injuries this week. Big names on the injury report, and they're all coming at the worst time as the fantasy playoffs are starting. And I don't think many people were lucky enough to avoid injury. Brendan clinched the number 3 seed. However, starting quarterback Justin Herbert out for the season with a broken finger on his throwing hand. He's going to get surgery on that. I think there's surgery today or this week, but he's out for the season. So that's going to be a big blow to Brendan's team. Compound that with the fact that Keenan Allen also has a heel injury. Now, I don't think they expect him to miss any time, but now your number 1 wide receiver is hobbled and he didn't have his quarterback. So it's not looking too good for the foreseeable future.
Well, that's one of those things, too, where their playoff hopes are kind of out the door. So do they want to risk a higher injury with, Keenan Allen? So it's going to be interesting. Be unfortunate, to say the least, if something were to him not to play.
I think I actually think that's a really good point. I mean, Keenan Allen is not a spring chicken anymore. Despite how well he's playing, he's not as young. I mean, he's been having that long old man beard for it seems like almost 10 years now. But just yeah, so he's not as young. So I mean, I think there's some truth to what you're saying as far as they might say, hey, we're not really gonna be able to make the playoffs, and so we might rest our guy and maybe try to save him for next season. So I think that's a good point. Moving on, Josh Jacobs, it looked like a hyperextended knee, and he did leave the game in the third quarter. However, on the injury report today, it said it was a quad injury. They have a game Thursday, and they listed him as a do not participate, but it sounds like, fingers crossed for me, that he may just miss a game, maybe 2, but I would like to have him back as soon as possible, but the fact that he avoided a major injury is a plus. So
that's another one of those, question marks. Is he going to want to come back when they have nothing to play for? It's a sad thing about the NFL nowadays, because back in the day, people wanted to play no matter what, but now in today's world of sports is you got a bruised pinky toe. I just want to let it heal for another week or 2. So let me not sit out. So
I mean, that gets to the next one. Justin Jefferson, I think, would maybe fit into what you just said, because even though he had a hamstring injury, he was out for almost 8 weeks total. Probably could have come back at 6, but they're just like, let's just hold him out till after the bye. So Justin Jefferson also back on the injury report for a separate injury. He took a pretty hard shot to the back of his ribs. However, they have him listed as a chest injury on the injury report. You were telling me pre-show that you don't, or I guess they don't expect him to miss a significant amount of time.
Justin Jefferson, I could see him holding him out. He's not worried about fantasy teams, as he clearly, made it a point in the hamstring. So we'll see. And they play Saturday, right?
Yes, I think so.
And so just more reason for him to just be like, yeah, I'm just going to hold out, this week.
As we mentioned, Nico Collins also went down, which is tough because CJ Stroud's already lost Tank Dell for the season. Nico Collins is down. He started to look like a rookie that didn't have any weapons on Sunday until he got hurt with a concussion. So CJ Stroud currently in the concussion protocol. Nico Collins out with an injury as well. And then another big name, arguably the best player in fantasy this year, just saying, Tyreek Hill went down with he got kind of that hip drop that landed on his ankle. He did miss about a quarter and a half, but he did end up returning to action, which was good for Miami. And well, you've said Miami's in a playoff fight right now, trying to get the number 1 seed, so they want him on the field.
Yeah, I like his odds of playing, but my fear is I read a couple things saying that Miami wanted to throw him out just as a decoy to try to throw some people off, which his wife also got the text from his wife saying that get your ass back out there. So
Oh, really? I didn't hear
I
that.
don't know if you saw that. Yeah, he texted his wife at halftime saying my ankle hurts. She goes, "You better get your ass back on the field." And so he said, "Yes, ma'am." He got back on there, so I don't see him missing. I mean, if he misses this week, he'll be back next week for you. So I think there's nothing to worry.
Yeah, and he's in the chase for 2,000 yards right now, and obviously missing any amount of time during that pursuit is going to kind of hinder that. So we just want to see if he's actually going to hit 2,000 yards this during the regular season, or will that happen during the playoffs? So, but Miami's trying to get number 1 seed right now and keep up with Baltimore, so they want their best players out on the field.
Oh yeah, I mean, and I think week 17 they play Baltimore. So, it's going to be a very vital game. So, just stay 1 game back.
So, before we jump in this week's games, we'll go over the playoff bracket for those who I assume everybody, so most people have seen it already. But Carolina Rain and Dirty Skivvies off this week with a first-round bye. So, the matchups we're going to be previewing this week are the number 3, Peeping Tomlinson's taking on number 6, Hugh Hefner. And then the number 4, Grizzly Adam Beards taking on 4th and Schlong. That'll be the championship bracket. And then we'll move it
from last year.
That's exactly right. Moving over to the Princess Cup, Shaq locked up the first round bye. He's been calling it for weeks. He said he was going to do it, and by God, he did it. Locked up the first round bye. Zano falling, unfortunately, to the second first round bye in the Princess Cup.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because his team is coming off such a high where every single one of his positional players scored a touchdown and just absolutely murdered me. So they'll have to wait and see what goes on. Hopefully, no injuries proclaim while they're on bye weeks this week.
Good news for Zano. I did see a report that they expect Jonathan Taylor to come back this season. So I don't know when that's going to be, but it's got to be within the next week or two if they expect to get him on the field. So Zano might benefit from that.
Yeah, because they're probably shooting for next week because I have him in another league and he's doubtful. So I mean, he went from out to doubtful, so it's good terms for Zano.
Any progress is progress.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll be looking at the one-eyed monster, the number 7 one-eyed monsters coming from behind. Was currently going into he was the number 10 seed going into last week. He's jumped all the way up to 7. Number 7 one-eyed monsters taking on the number 10 player haters who also moved up, and then the happy little TDs taking on Chicken Little Flea Flicker. So
back in the princess.
Yeah. I love you, brother. I hated to do it, man. But
you got the curse on that one.
Look, I hated to do it. I hated to do it, but I mean, obviously we're all in this to win a championship. But I mean, if you can take little silver linings, if you don't win a championship, you can say oh, I went 6-0 against the division. So I mean, you want to try to get little benchmarks when you can. So 6-0 in the division, me and Joe.
Let's go with Jeff and Matt. 2 hot teams coming in right off the get-go. Jake Brown's been playing kind of Joe Burrow-esque, to say the least. Didn't see that coming. Versus Brock Purdy, who's on the hot hand right now. Two quarterbacks playing at a high level. Receivers are pretty much a wash. Running backs, a wash. Tight ends. This is an overall very intriguing game. I know Matt's projected less points-wise, but it's a very intriguing game to me.
Yeah, I think this looks much closer than the score is predicting. And I think really where the current advantage is, and this could be very famous last words coming from Cody, mark this moment if it happens, but Jameer Gibbs right now is the better running back than Devon Achane. Devon Achane has been quiet since coming back from injury, which means that any second now he's going to erupt. But I would say going into it, Tony Pollard has turned it on last half season, and Jameer Gibbs. I think for those, I would give the edge to Jeff on that one, just because I'm not seeing Devon Achane come on over the last couple weeks. That's all.
No, A-Chain looking more like a like third down receiving back coming out of last week, which I mean, he's as his first couple weeks, he's capable of bursting anything into a long touchdown run. So with his, what is he, like a 4.3 speed? And so
yeah.
But Jameer Gibbs clearly, I think the number one back in Detroit right now. Montgomery's your good goal line back, but Gibbs is the dynamic back for sure.
Definitely the future.
Oh yeah, and then Jeff's got Puka Nacua, and who I kind of thought he'd wear off with Cooper Kupp coming back in, but he hadn't. He stayed alive, and Garrett Wilson getting the Wilson on Wilson action, and I think he had double-digit targets last week. So,
Yep, he had 14 targets and 9 catches.
But he gets a Jalen Ramsey on the other side this week, so it'll be an intriguing matchup on that one.
Yeah, I do think looking at maybe at quarterbacks, I think Brock Purdy is such a boomer bust right now. I mean, because there's so many weapons around him. I mean, I would probably give the edge to Brock Purdy here, but I mean, Jake Browning has been playing like I mentioned before, has been playing great since taking over. Giants defense, maybe like Chris Olave can do well, but I mean, you just never know which Chris Olave is going to show up. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like,
it's because you don't know if Derek Carr's going to show up, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's tough to make because the talent is there for Chris Olave, but I think you're right. It's the quarterback is he actually going to look Olave's way, or is this going to be an Alvin Kamara game?
So that's another team that I could see Dennis Allen will be getting the boot if I had a feeling, if I was a bet man at the end of the year.
What's funny is Frank Reich got fired first, but I remember preseason they were like, Dennis Allen is terrible. He's just so bad.
I mean, he was never good in Oakland, and so why? I don't know if they're just trying to keep like camaraderie in the locker room by hiring him after Sean Payton, but clearly didn't work out again.
Who do you like for looking at the flex spot? Zay Flowers against Najee Harris. Who do you like here? Because I know who I like.
I give the edge to Zay Flowers. Pittsburgh's offense just looks a mess, even with Canada being fired. On 4th and 2, you throw a 30-yard bomb on Thursday Night Football. It's just absolutely atrocious. But I've enjoyed the memes from it. Let's just throw it out there. So,
yeah, I feel the exact same way. I would give the edge to Zay Flowers, and I mean it's for the reason we talked about earlier with Lamar. If Lamar is going to continue to carve people up in the passing game, then that's when he's the most dangerous. And Zay Flowers has just been such a good rookie, so I expect him to go very, very early in drafts next year.
Yeah, he's going to be a good one.
All right. Well, who do you got? Who do you have moving on in the Princess Cup? Who's going to move on?
Who is not wearing the princess dress this year in this matchup? I don't want to go against my preseason prediction, but I think Jeff's going to pull out victorious on this one.
Which in a way is Jeff's middle finger right to you. Like, not only did I not get it, he's like, I got out first round, buddy. And I came on strong at the end of the year. So, yeah, I think I like Matt's roster. I just wish if they were more consistent. And again, this is famous last words because Achane could go the hell off this week. But I just think if he had more consistency, I would actually give this to Matt. But again, we don't know what Drake London's going to show up. We don't know what Olave is going to show up, and we don't know if Achane is going to show up. Everyone else looks good, so because I'm so uncertain about those folks, I'm going to take Jeff here. But I mean, if I this could easily go the other way if those guys decide to show up.
On to Bowen and Sarah. Sarah riding the injury train right now. With Stroud and Nico, and it's already out there. Nico Collins. Oh, never mind. I'm sorry. I thought I said won't play Sunday, but serious calf injury. He's been dealing with lingering all year. I don't see him coming back. And unfortunately, we'll see how Stroud comes off of protocol. So Sarah might have to let it bake this week.
I was just looking at that. Yeah, I think she might have to let it bake. And he's not been playing terrible. I mean, I think he might be like honestly one of the top backups in fantasy right now. But this goes back to what I said earlier in the season. It's amazing how good Baker can play when he actually has a full offseason to learn the system and learn the playbook, and not trade for him in the middle of training camp. So, I mean, because he's looked very, very good in Tampa.
Yeah, he's looked comfortable. He's looked good. Do I think he's a franchise quarterback? No, I just don't. I think he's middle of the road. He'll get you your 7-8 wins like he's doing right now for Tampa, but I just don't know if he can take you all the way there.
Is Tampa in first place right now? I mean, I don't know if it's New Orleans or Tampa. Is it Tampa?
It's Tampa because we beat New Orleans and Atlanta now, so we have a better division record.
So you got Tampa's got Green Bay, then Jacksonville, then New Orleans. So that's gonna be a big stretch, and then you would finish the season off with the Panthers in Charlotte. So
$10 a ticket right now, boys. Get them while they're hot.
Yeah, so I think Sarah's gonna have to go roll with Baker. She's getting great production everywhere else. I think right now, looking at her, the weaknesses is obviously quarterback, as we mentioned, and what's she gonna do at her flex spot? And other than that, I love for the rest of her team.
Yeah, Javonte Williams has kind of been a bright spot for her. And then, it's one of those things where Kelsey's been in. He's still a top tight end, but has he been worth the first round pick this year? Is the question. I almost lean no. I think I heard a stat where Mahomes' career average is like 308 yards a game, passing yards, and this year he's averaging like 261, something like that. So, but it's not his fault. They have a league leading like 33 drops. That's what you get for watching. That's what you get for watching Tony Romo. He just throws stat lines out left and right for you. But
see,
but she's got James Cook has a tough matchup, but luckily he's a good receiving back for her. And then Michael Pittman, I think it's kind of been. I think you said at the beginning of the year and throughout the year has been one of her bright spots throughout the entire year. I like it.
Another thing she's got going for her this week is the fact that Bowen's got Jalen Hurts as his quarterback, and they're not doing well right now as far as their expectations. They're doing very well this season, but they need to get some wins in the column, and they might come out fast and furious on Monday night.
Good chance. They have the easiest remaining schedule in all of NFL. So they're going to be able to get right coming down the home stretch. It's just, is the team going to be able to produce against a high-powered off or defense like the last two they played against, because they've just gotten murdered in the trenches. And so,
yeah.
But then Bowen's got CeeDee Lamb. Hurts my feelings. I should have stuck with my gut and left him on the roster because he's just a target shredding machine right now. And the only thing that worries me really about Bowen's team is his running backs. I don't know if Pacheco's supposed to play with his shoulder injury. Chuba, like Thomas Brown really likes him compared to Miles Sanders now. So that works out for him. But
25 touches last week and 23 touches this past week.
Yeah. So, but they're not. He's getting good pointage, but Atlanta's pretty good at the run D, and so what's going to happen there is to see this week. You've watched plenty of Carolina football this year. It's not great. It's not good.
Nope.
And then Jalen Warren, we talked about with Najee, and he's got the double Pittsburgh going, which is kind of scary for me. If it's in my eyes.
Yeah. Yes. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to look all this over. Obviously, the strength of Bowen's team is those top three. It's Jalen Hurts, CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown. And you could maybe throw Trey McBride in there as well. I mean, that's where he's going to get his points. But I think you're 100% correct in that there is a clear advantage for Sarah in the running back game. Javonte Williams, I mean, again, he's been somewhat consistent. He's not blowing you away, but James Cook is coming on strong. Maybe when you look at like Chuba Hubbard, maybe he starts to break one, but I mean, the Panthers' offensive line is trash. So it's really 3 yards in a cloud of dust almost every play. So, and what Jalen Warren is going to show up. Is it going to be a 50-50 split with Najee again, or are they going to actually let Jalen Warren be the lead back like he should be? So I don't think this is as lopsided a game as people might think with CJ Stroud being out. In fact, I'll go so far as to say is I like Sarah to win this game because I think if she gets Baker in there and then she finds a respectable, or maybe Nico Collins can come back and comes out of he had a calf injury, and if CJ Stroud comes out of concussion protocol, if those two play, I think she's got the clearly better roster.
I do want to lean Sarah with you. I do. I don't know. I really don't know who to pick in this one. It's one of those. All these games are intriguing. You know, jeez, who to pick? I'm gonna go. I'm gonna ride the train with you. I'll ride Sarah to go ahead and not be princess again. Bowen moves on to defend that title one more round.
That's look. He's not giving that crown up so easily, right? He doesn't want it, but I think it's now part of him. I think he's got to hold on to it for at least another week. See if he can really defend it against those first round bye folks. Let's move on to the championship bracket. Let's jump into the Russ and Brendan game. Brendan must be listening to us because he's already taken a quarterback out, and Russ has filled his roster as we were recording. Must have been listening to us. So right now, Brendan does not have a starting quarterback in the lineup, but Russ is favored by 10 points. So look for that to change when Brendan gets a quarterback. Russ has backed into the playoffs with 5 straight losses, but Brendan is also very, very banged up in the moment. Who you got here?
It depends on there's not a lot of good fantasy quarterbacks out there. There's a couple. It's just who is he going to try to ride the train? Tampa's got a pretty weak passing defense, so if he can snag Jordan Love, it might be beneficial for him. But Russ is deviant, and he has that number 1 waiver wire pick for a reason. And so, could he be a smart play and possibly take Jordan Love?
Yeah. I mean, defense wins championships, right? So,
do I see?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose that's smart.
I don't see him taking one per se. I could see him going because Russ loves running backs. So if they announce Josh Jacobs to be done, then he might just snag Zamir White and then just roll that. But I know Russ has been on a slow, cold 5 losing streak, but I do like him to pull this one out just because of how banged up Peepin Tomlinson's Brendan is. Detroit's offense has kind of looked kind of shaky the last couple of weeks, besides the run game. Jared, as you said in Kellen's game, Jared Goff only put up 6 points, a couple of interceptions. Amon-Ra St. Brown had a quiet week, and so did, I don't know if Laporta did or not. I just know, 2 catches, 23 yards. So you look for them to turn around, and Brendan's bright spot right now is Rachaad White. He's been putting up some pretty solid numbers of late, and he gets a weak Green Bay run defense who let Saquon score twice. So who knows? Brendan, I think biggest hope is if Brian Robinson can get past that hamstring injury, and then if Keenan Allen plays or not.
I think the correct, if I'm in their shoes right now, I think the correct mindset is to look. I can't worry about next week. I have to deal with what's in front of me because next week's not guaranteed. Russ needs to put himself in the best position to win. I don't expect Josh Jacobs to play this week. I mean, they play a Thursday night game, and I mean, my man left in the third quarter limping. So even the superhuman abilities of these NFL players and training staffs, I just don't know if that's going to be enough turnaround to do that. So if he's going to play the matchup and maybe go after Zamir White or anyone else like that to, just get points where you're needed. I don't hate the idea. I mean, it would piss Brendan right off to go steal a quarterback, but I mean, I don't hate it. But I mean, look, you gotta do what you gotta do to get it next week.
You want
I
so, like you said just a minute ago, the best offense is the best defense, and if you can hold him from getting a decent waiver wire snag, which right now it looks like Jordan Love has the best fantasy play next week, and so it's just. Who knows what Russ is going to do, but I guess my big question for Russ is if Aaron Jones is healthy, do you play him?
Is Aaron Jones healthy though? Or, I mean, I don't think Aaron Jones is going to be healthy till next season. Just my gut. I mean, I think it's just a very lingering issue.
Because he tried to come back on Monday night and play, but he didn't make it. So it's leaning like he could possibly play against Tampa, but does Russ trust him enough is a question I guess I'm asking.
Yeah, that's good. Honestly, I would probably go McKinnon right now. But it's just because like Aaron Jones is the better running back. I'm not disputing that, but I think the better situation at this point in time could be McKinnon. As you mentioned before, there's no one not named Kelsey or Rashee Rice that can catch on Kansas City. They just can't. And Jarrett McKinnon is one of the ones that can, as a little scat back. But I might, with us being half point PPR, that might be a points to find. But
that's right now. He's got Godwin in the flex. He's got Zach Moss, who's projected to be the starter this week, and he's been kind of cold. Taking back the starting job since Taylor's been hurt. So, does he find that bright spot or not? And Breece Hall had a nice week against the Texans, so Derrick Henry might be lead into it. So, right now I lead towards old Rusty to take a dub this week.
here's the thing. I look at these. I think if you put. Let's say Russ does play defense, right? He gets Jordan Love. Like if this is Joe Flacco or Tommy DeVito right now, like just an absolute desperate play at the moment. I mean, if Keenan Allen can play, I still like Brendan's roster. I think I like it better. Odell's in that flex spot. We've already gone over how Lamar's playing well. Sam Laporta, you can't. History shows us this season you don't keep Sam Laporta down very long. I think between the quarterback and to your point about Brian Robinson, if he can find some production there, I think he's going to be fine. He does have Deontay Foreman, who ended up putting up 8 points. I mean, he was the lead running back over Khalil Herbert, so that might be enough to get the job done. So I'm actually going to take Brendan here. Even though Yeah, I just think Brennan's roster is better right now, even though they're banged up. So, but who knows? Derrick Henry could easily put up the 30 points that he's not been doing all year. So, I'll take Brennan here, and I guess you're going to go Russ.
I'm going Russ.
Oh, cool. It's our first split. So, moving on to our last game. This is going to be your game, buddy. We got the 7-7 fourth and Shillong sneaking into the playoffs at the last minute, taking on the Grizzly Island Bears at 8-6. You locked it up the playoff spot 2 weeks ago. Is that right?
Yeah, once I beat Bowen, I locked up playoff spot. So, yeah, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, whenever that was, we locked it up. But I prefer to play Russ right now, as bad as I hate to say it. We get a championship final rematch from last year, right in the first round of playoffs. So it's gonna be intriguing.
So before we jump into this, here's my routine, and I know I've told you this because I have expressed my frustration with myself over the last 7 days. But when we record these podcasts on Tuesday night, afterwards I usually will sit up here until about midnight and edit. But then while I do that, I will also set my waiver claims, and I didn't last week. I was too tired. I was just like, screw it. I will edit it when I come home tomorrow, and I went straight to bed. The fact that I flipping missed out on Kyler Murray infuriates me to no end even a week later. I am livid. Now I'm pissed off at Jeff because Jeff had 3 quarterbacks all year long, and I even offered to trade for 1 or 2 of them. He was like not budging, and I'm just so mad at myself that I didn't see him get dropped, number 1, and 2, I didn't follow my normal routine that has got me here and take advantage of a waiver wire because you didn't even claim him on waivers. That's what pisses me off. You didn't claim him on waivers. You got him at like 10 o'clock that morning. And I was like, what the it was, so I'm still pissed a week later. So yeah. And the reason I'm pissed is because I've mentioned my the playoff strength of schedule and how I'm trying to build my team. Kyler Murray has the easiest strength of schedule for weeks 16 and 17. So the next round and then the championship game. So yeah, I'm pretty pissed off.
Well, Kyler might be getting thrown in even against San Fran's defense because Tua is just looking not great the last 2 or 3 weeks at all. And so he's really scaring me. And I know Waddle played good last time against the Jets, but if Tyreek doesn't end up playing, I don't know if I can trust Waddle against those 2 corners on either side. And so I'm kind of in a debate right now what the heck to do because it is San Fran. And I know it's a division game, so like what's going to go down, I guess. And it's at Arizona, so it doesn't kill me to start him at home, but I don't know what to do, truthfully, at that game, at that starting position.
I do have to point out you might have the best depth and bench players in the playoffs. I think your bench is very, very good. So right now, I know you're doing some shuffling, but you got Jalen Waddle, Zach Charbonnet, Dalton Schultz, Kyler Murray, Gainwell. You're also stashing Kansas City and Jordan Palmer, who is trying to figure out if he's going to play or wants to do anything this year. But we'll see if he does anything. He just got back from IR.
Yeah, they activated him, so I got a feeling they activated him just because Keenan Allen might not be playing. So why not try to bring him back in there? But yeah, I like my depth for sure. I like Jaden Reed, from Green Bay. He's been playing very well of late for Green Bay, and he's got Tampa's weak passing defense. So we'll see how that goes. But moving on to Kellen's side, like we talked about earlier, that freaking Aubrey dude and Ferguson, and he's got Devontae Adams, who always shows up in primetime games, which scares me. It doesn't matter who his quarterback is. And then Montgomery's playing the worst fantasy defense for running backs right now. And then Brees Hall is check down, and Miami's kind of just let Derrick Henry run wild. So I'm not very excited about this game. Just to be honest with you.
Just to make sure I'm not going crazy here. Okay, yeah, that's exactly what I thought. Let's say Brandon Aubrey has an average game and he only puts up like the 8 points. Like Russ very easily could have won that game. Because if you take away the 24 points from the 104, it puts Kellen at 79 points. So if he does just an average game, like he maybe beats Russ by 3. So that's just to show you how such a crazy anomaly it is. And like I love it personally. Like you can't plan for kickers, and you just get the points when you can get them.
No, I think me and Kellen might have the best kicker duel going down this week. Tucker and Aubrey. So
we'll see how it plays out here.
Kellen's got a lot of Saturday's games, and in the finals last year, Kellen had half his team almost go for Dallas, and absolutely hit the head on the coffin, just like you did a couple weeks ago. So I look for Saturday to be a tell on how this weekend's going to go for me with Kellen's team, because they're all different games, I think. And they, Jefferson's an early game and then 2 night games, so if he puts up 50, 60 points between 3 people, I don't like my odds of winning this game at all.
Listen, I know, I guess the area of concern, and I know I'm not trying to set your lineup for you, but I understand your frustrations with Tua, especially going up against the Jets. We've alluded for the last 3 or 4 weeks now. For some reason, just the Jets are absolutely dominant against good quarterbacks. So, I would have cause for concern there. When I look at the other side, Jared Goff, he's like maybe top 12 quarterback at this point, but the resurgence of Denver as a whole, coming out of nowhere, they started the season terrible, and dude, if Kansas City keeps screwing around, Denver might win that division. So, they've got a lot to play for as well. I don't know. I worry about Justin Jefferson when I go down the list. Is Justin Jefferson going to be Justin Jefferson? Is Devontae I've written off for the season. It's just not going to happen in Las Vegas. He's too good, but that team is just terrible.
Well, I'll never write off Devontae Adams because I played him in like week 3 when he had his 34-point montage against Pittsburgh, and then when I played Kellen, I think he had 17 or the 11. Devontae Adams normally shows up when I play against him, so I'll never write him off. Mike Evans, like you just proclaimed, 1,000 yards receiver. I don't expect him to get shut down like he just did against Atlanta. And then Jamar Chase, saying he's dealing with an ankle injury, so it kind of worries me. We'll see how that does, because he said he didn't practice today. So, and then Eckler, maybe he's back, maybe not. Score me a touchdown, we'll be okay.
That's got to be your most frustrating part is Austin Eckler, right?
Oh, for sure. Again, that was the reason why I traded Lamb, was to get out of the past 2 seasons the most touchdown productive player on offensive side of the ball. That's not a quarterback, and the last 3 weeks he's kind of just laid some straight up goose eggs of 6-6-3, and so I just put up your projected points and I'll be happy. I'll be a happy little dude. Oh
yeah.
We'll see what goes on.
Yeah, I still would give the edge to you as far as the running backs. Austin Eckler, believe it or not, he does care about fantasy. He knows his fantasy playoff time. He's coming off a very solid game where he was getting his normal production. And then Kyron Williams is still doing very, very well since he's returned with 12 points, 25 touches. So I like your group of running backs as a whole better. I still think Brees Hall is very, very capable. Had his best game of the season this past week. So, maybe they'll continue to lean on him. To your point about tight ends, though, I think Jake Ferguson I think any Cowboy you start, like you have said, you need to play them because Jake Ferguson's really, really coming on here recently. And even Isaiah Likely, though. I mean, I need to see another game from Isaiah Likely where he gets 7 targets, 5 catches, and a touchdown. I need to see another game like that before I truly believe in him.
Yeah. Saying Schultz has the hamstring, which is just lingering into playoffs. So even if he does get cleared to play and wants to come back, I'm gonna have to. I feel more faith in Likely, and so it's gonna be a fun, interesting game. I don't think I'm done moving rosters yet. I picked up Kansas City's defense for a reason. I just haven't had a chance to switch them yet. I like them against New England. And then, the quarterback, as we talked earlier, that's going to be my kicker right now.
Do you want me to pick a winner? I mean, I picked a winner for anyone else. You always accuse me of being the commissioner curse.
Hey, you pick a winner. Maybe it will help me out if you pick me. You never know.
I think, again, I'm just kind of addressing the whole roster. I think your roster is better. I don't really care about the matchups too much. I mean, when you have stud players, they're going to find a way to make plays. So I don't really put too much stock into that. But I like your roster as a whole, and I think you're going to get your revenge, and I think you're going to take out Kellen.
I picked the last 2 weeks of mine, and I'm not going to pick this week. I'm just going to let it ride.
You got it, brother. You got it. Well, I guess so that's all the games for this week. Good luck, everybody. As we've mentioned several times, game on Thursday, games on Saturdays, games on Sundays. So make sure you're watching plenty of football this weekend and get those lineups set. But good luck, everybody, and bye. Peace, everybody.